Hi everybody. Today I'm taking advantage of a break in the severe winter weather to visit Suwanee, Tennessee. High atop the Cumberland Plateau, this area is inundated with sandstone. On today's episode of The Cemetery Detective, I will visit local cemeteries trying to find grave markers made with local sandstone. Suwanee is home to the University of the South, and many of its buildings were built using Suwanee sandstone. The university has its own cemetery, but before I show you that cemetery, I want to show you a couple of cemeteries I visited on my way up Monteagle. I love this church's bright red roof. That's what caught my eye initially, and then I saw the adjacent cemetery. There are a few things here I want to look at. There are a few concrete structures here, as well as several granites. If you remember in one of my other videos, we've spoken about fire ants and how they can destabilize the ground, and I think that has happened here in this cemetery. If you look at this gravestone, you can see the fire ant mound in the front, and the softened ground and the gravestone lying down. Now, I'm not certain that fire ants caused that damage, but certainly that gravestone has toppled. This is indicative of many of my cemetery research trips. I pull over to research one cemetery and immediately find a different cemetery, just like this one, next to this gas station. This is really small and its name does not appear on my maps. However, there's a great feature here we have seen in other cemeteries recently. That is a mounded limestone grave. We've seen plenty of these, but I don't think I've ever seen one quite so large. I've made a quick stop into Monteagle Cemetery and I found this wonderful sandstone archway. I'm expecting to find more archways in area cemeteries today. There's also this great sandstone grave marker I want to show you. This is such a fine example of a sandstone grave marker. I've met a friend. This is such a fine example of a sandstone grave marker. You can see the colorations here. I used to think that was sedimentary stratification, but I believe this is called a Lysengang band, and it's a way that the chemical composition of the sandstone has formed over the years. I love the way that the black lettering stands out brilliantly, and the saying at the bottom is gorgeous. Let us live with each other in peace and harmony. There's a guitar, a dove, and musical notation. Something else I want to explain about this gravestone, as the sunlight hits it just right, I can see sparkles, almost like crystallization, and I believe those are silicates in the sandstone, probably quartz. And on this side, my friend is back to say hello again. On this side, there's a peace sign and a smiley face. I love it when gravestones exhibit such personality. What a fantastic example. And right next to it, this gravestone has musical notation with a butterfly and the verse of a song. Obviously a musical family. I'm gonna say goodbye to my friend and I'm on my way now to the next cemetery. I've made my way to Eastern Star Cemetery in Suwanee, and I'm greeted by this fantastic archway. I'm almost positive this is local stone. And on the side of this column, you will see the Eastern Star emblem. The Eastern Star's emblem is a 5-pointed star, with each of the points representing a separate female personality from biblical teaching. We have Ada, Ruth, Esther, Martha and Electa.
Founded in 1850 by Rob Morris in Richland, Mississippi, the Eastern Star organization is considered a Masonic appendant body. Although open to men and women, Eastern Star's principles follow 5 female personalities from the Bible. Ada is from the book of Judges. She represents the virtue of obedience to duty and is symbolized on the star by a sword and veil. Ruth, from her namesake book, represents virtues of religious principles. She is symbolized by a sheath of barley. Esther is also from her namesake book in the Bible, and she represents the virtue of loyalty. On the Eastern Star, Esther's symbolized by a crown and a scepter. Martha is the sister of Mary and Lazarus. Martha represents the virtue of endurance in trial, and she is symbolized by a broken column. Electa from 2 John represents the virtue of endurance of persecution. She is symbolized by a chalice. Eastern Star follows biblical principles, but is open to people from all faiths.
This is a common gravestone with a hand holding an open Bible. Now we know it's a Bible because the words actually say Holy Bible. The rest of the pages are blank. In some instances, you will see totally blank pages or pages with scripture written on the inside. But this one simply says Holy Bible. The hand is interesting in how it holds the Bible open. The thumb is overlapping the right-hand page, and presumably the index finger is in the back holding it open with the other 3 fingers folded down. Here in Eastern Star Cemetery, I found this wonderful example of a sandstone grave marker, base with a cross on top. And on this side of the cross, you can see the Lease Gang bands or Lease Gang rings. I used to think this was sedimentary stratification as the sedimentary rock built over millions of years. But now I think it has something to do with the way the material precipitates out of a fluid. I don't really understand it. If you're a geologist, please leave a comment below and help me to understand the difference between sedimentary stratification and the Lease Gang rings seen in sedimentary rock such as sandstone.
In an effort to better understand the sandstone grave markers of this area, I've driven to Palmer, Tennessee, and I had a great conversation with the owner of Privet Monument Company, who showed me how the sandstone is sourced, how the gravestones are shaped, and how the lettering is inscribed in each gravestone.
I've made my way to University Cemetery here at the University of the South, final resting place of many professors and administrators of the university. One thing I find very interesting, many of the gravestones list the credentials of the professors who are buried here. I have also found some fantastic sandstone structures. I'm at the grave site of Edmund Kirby Smith, who was a general during the American Civil War and who was also a mathematics professor here at the University of the South. You can see that his gravestone is polished granite. However, in the background, a monument raised in his honor is made of the same sandstone that we saw at Eastern Star Cemetery.
As I was leaving the university, I looked over to my left and I found a big pile of discarded sandstone, probably from the local quarry. So I called a friend of mine who is a geology professor, and I asked him, okay, how do you pronounce the word and what does the word mean? So he let me know it's pronounced Lisa Gang, and it has to do with a chemical interaction with the rock long after it was hardened. An iron-rich percolation through a fluid which leaves a discoloration in the stone. I'm sure I'm getting that maybe a little bit wrong, but it's the best that I could do to understand. But on these rocks, I wanted to show you this one rock in particular, and you can see the Lisa Gang banding right here. And what my friend told me was that A lot of times it's very sharp at the beginning of the band, and then it just kind of fades off into obscurity. And that's what I'm seeing here. So there's this band right here, and then there are these kind of secondary or more minor bands here. And on the top, there's banding here. So there's quite a bit of banding all over this rock in crisscrossing patterns, and I just find that fascinating. This banding really doesn't cause any significant structural change in the rock, and actually it causes the rock to be very aesthetically pleasing, and people who run quarries and who deal in this kind of stone, they will look for sandstone with Lisa Gang banding. Aesthetically, it makes the rock look much better. I have stopped quickly at St. Mary's Cemetery on the grounds of St. Mary's Convent. I love finding interesting epitaphs, and I have found a great one here at Oh Deer Cemetery.
I'm visiting the Suwannee Natural Bridge to better understand the sandstone structures in this area. This rock dates back to the Pennsylvanian era about 300 million years ago, so it's about 100 million years younger than the Devonian age rock I have studied in my other videos. Just like the gravestone I saw earlier, I can see the silicate material glistening in the afternoon sunlight. I love studying natural structures like this, which help me with my gravestone research. It is so beautiful down here. The sun is shining and the icicles are dripping. I'm going to visit a couple more cemeteries and also stop off at my favorite lunch spot to do some research, and then to be on my way to the Buggy Top Trail, where I want to show you a cave system with a river running right through it. I've come to Wise Cemetery, and even in this small cemetery, I have found a fantastic example of sandstone. And look at this line, this striation right here that curves its way all along the gravestone onto the top and around the side. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, admittedly, I've made a little bit of a late start here. I'm gonna do the Buggy Top Trail system. I want to show you this fantastic cave at the end of this trail. I'm gonna be quick about it. It's about a 2-mile hike one way. The sandstone grave markers we've studied today have all come from the Crab Orchard Mountain group. That group contains several different varieties of stone. We have the Rockcastle conglomerate, the Van Dever formation. There are 2 forms of coal, Newton sandstone, Woodville shale, Richland Coal, and finally Suwannee Sandstone at the base. Now that I've hiked off the plateau, I've reached a completely different geologic strata. This is limestone, scores of millions of years older than the sandstone just a few miles away. And as I explore the cemeteries deeper into the valley, I'm expecting to find gravestones made of local limestone. Okay, so I've made it to a divergence in the trail. The buggy top entrance leads off to the right, and the Peter Cave entrance goes to the left. Let's geek out with some chemistry just for a minute. The rock in this area is limestone, also known as calcium carbonate. 1 calcium, 1 carbon, and 3 oxygen. We all know that water is H2O. Now, water will not dissolve calcium carbonate. However, there is carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and rainwater and river water often has carbon dioxide in it, forming carbonic acid. And carbonic acid, even though it's a weak acid, will dissolve limestone. And after millions and millions of years, this right here is what causes a cave system such as the Buggy Top Cave. Well, this is it, Buggy Top Cave entrance. The last part of the trail is no joke. It's more about sliding down on your rear end and just trying to maintain composure than actually navigating the trail. So if you're not up for that kind of trail, maybe this isn't one for you. I'm covered with mud and my pants are falling down. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Cemetery Detective, where I visited many cemeteries in the Suwannee, Tennessee area, as well as the Natural Bridge, Peter Cave, and Buggy Top Cave. The sun is going down. I'm going to run out of here and visit one more cemetery on my way home. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Cemetery Detective. Please subscribe, please like my videos. That kind of inspires me to see more cemeteries and bring this content to you. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a great 2019. It's getting late and I really need to be getting home, but I just wanted to do one more cemetery. I've put my heavy jacket on to get warm again, and I dropped by Sherwood Cemetery. This is a familiar story. I do one more cemetery and it ends up being the most interesting of the day. There are so many things I want to share with you about this cemetery. First of all is this amazing structure right behind me. That's a family grave plot, which includes this archway with a gravestone underneath it. Now, the fantastic thing about an archway like this is it actually protects the stone from the weather, or from most of the weather anyway. This stone is dated 1918, and it looks practically brand new. Over here, I want to show you these fantastic columns protecting this family plot. There used to be fencing all through here. It was probably wood because I don't see any rusting from metal fencing. So it's probably wood that decayed over the years and then was just taken away. Look at the topping. This conical topping on the top of these columns, fantastic. And in the back is a Woodman of the World, a really beautiful example of a Woodman of the World, but there's a better one just behind it. I'm gonna take you there now. This Woodman of the World is one of the best I think I've ever seen. The inscriptions and the carvings on here are fantastic. Starting at the top, we have a wood cutter's wedge, a splitting wedge. Right below it, we have a mallet and a hatchet. And then we have the traditional Woodman of the World logo right below that with a tree and branches beneath it. Then we have a cut-off branch with a heavy rope draped around it, holding a scroll with the gentleman's name inscripted in it. He died in 1916. What a wonderful Woodman of the World. There's something else I want to show you right over here. Look at this fantastic tree I found. It's still alive. Well, I guess it is. It's wintertime. I can't really tell, but it looks like it's probably still alive. But look how hollowed out it is. It's huge inside. I'm pretty sure I could almost live in there, but not really. And there's one more thing I want to show you right over here. And I just wanted to show these grave markers to you. These are a few examples of concrete grave markers. Speaking of which, I believe there's an abandoned concrete factory just below me, and I hear a train coming, so I'm gonna leave you with a few scenes of that abandoned concrete factory with the backdrop of a train rushing by. Thank you for joining me in this episode of The Cemetery Detective. I look forward to sharing many more cemeteries with you this year.